People of the internet, RetroRaconteur here. I'm just a dad who loves games and the stories they tell. And boy, my fellow witches and wizards, do we have some really big news, massive news, I would say, to talk about today regarding not only Hogwarts Legacy, possible DLC for the game, its overall future, but also the future of Wizarding World video games as a whole. MMO, anybody want an MMO? Because I think we might be getting an MMO. Now, Hogwarts Legacy, of course, released in February of 2023 on current generation platforms to both commercial and critical success. They sold 12 million copies in the first 2 weeks alone and followed that up with releases on the PS4 and Xbox One last summer. Most recently, they launched the game on the Nintendo Switch just in time for the holiday season. All of this added up for the best-selling game of 2023, with Hogwarts Legacy even topping the latest Call of Duty, a feat no other game had accomplished since Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, for real, guys, we are talking some major heavy hitters here. Now we have an official number courtesy of WB Games and confirmation that Hogwarts Legacy has sold, wait for it, 22 million copies, including 2 million in the month of December alone. We are talking truly massive sales numbers here, people. I mean, just for the sake of comparison, a little game called Grand Theft Auto 4 sold around 25 million copies. The original Red Dead, 24 million copies. Super Mario Odyssey, roughly 27 million copies. These are some of the best-selling games of all time, and Hogwarts Legacy is at 22 million after 1 year. I mean, imagine if they actually do release some sort of DLC and have another push for this game, all the sales that they can keep doing. Whenever the TV show finally hits, I mean, there's going to be so much opportunity for this game to keep selling. So, not surprisingly, WB seems to be very pleased with this. Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment president David Haddad recently talked to Variety, and he talked specifically here about how proud he was of Hogwarts Legacy and the fact that it pleased so many of the fans. It brought Harry Potter to life in a new way for gamers, where they could be themselves in this world, in this story. And that's what the team at Avalanche set out to do when they were developing the game, and I think that's really why it resonated so well and remains the best-selling game of the year in the entire industry worldwide. Yes, 100% yes. I am so glad to see someone at David Haddad's level who really seems to get it and understand. You know, there's been all that talk of live services and adding it to their games, possibly games in the Wizarding World, which he talks about that here in a second, but this quote alone shows me that he at least gets and understands why Hogwarts Legacy was such a big success. Now, despite all of that success, they were shut out of the Game Awards and they did not receive any nominations. They did make an appearance on the People's Choice list, but did not make it to the final round of voting. Even so, the people have spoken with their wallets here. So where does that leave us in terms of the future of Hogwarts Legacy as well as Wizarding World video games? Haddad did make note of Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, stating that the game was still in beta testing. Of course, a number of gamers have already had an opportunity to try out Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. Developer Unbroken Studios conducted a series of private playtest sessions last year, and although many have had an opportunity to test out the game, we still aren't sure how closely it will resemble the final product. We also don't yet have an exact release date, nor do we have any confirmed platforms. Of course, many fans were surprised, and some even disappointed, that Quidditch was not part of Hogwarts Legacy. It's explained away in the game as being canceled by Phineas Black, a character known as the worst headmaster in the history of Hogwarts. According to Haddad, we don't have any particular announcements on exactly how and when the Quidditch game is going to come to the market, but we are working to get it designed in a way just to delight fans. It wasn't just Quidditch Champions though. No, there's another, much shorter quote that's really catching the eye of a lot of people, and understandably so. Now, I want to be very clear here on this next part as to what is coming from Variety and what is coming from Haddad. So first off, we have just a Variety quote, which says, Haddad and company are already working on follow-up additions to the Potterverse's video game world. Note the plural there, additions. In the next line, though, they give us even more information and a quote from Haddad directly. That includes the previously announced title featuring Quidditch, the wizard sport that was left out of Hogwarts Legacy to fans' chagrin, which is currently in the beta testing phase, but also a series of other things that are currently unannounced and will let fans be part of this world and stories and characters in deeper and deeper ways. And just to be clear, the highlighted portions right there, those are direct quotes that Variety attributes to David Haddad. Now, of course, keep in mind Harry Potter Magic Awakened, a mobile title, finally saw its global release last year and is still receiving regular updates. This one is a bit more microtransaction heavy. Personally, I love the game and still play it regularly, but I also understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. There's also Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, another mobile title that continues to receive new content. But now we have David Haddad with a direct quote saying a series of other things plural, you guys, in addition to Quidditch champions. So let's break this down here. Personally, I think we're for sure getting more Hogwarts Legacy. I happen to think it will come in the form of DLC as well as a sequel down the road. I mean, David Haddad essentially was just gushing there about the job that Avalanche did with this game, and WB as a whole is really wanting to focus on their big franchises, of which Harry Potter and the Wizarding World are certainly one of them. Now, even though I personally think DLC and a sequel is coming, we don't have official confirmation of that just yet. And this, of course, is despite a recent flurry of new hires from Avalanche Software. I told you guys I wasn't going to make a video every time they put up a new job listing, but they have been continuously posting additional jobs mentioning the Wizarding World and Hogwarts Legacy in various ways. There is definitely something going on at Avalanche Software right now. Those guys are working on something. The other piece of the puzzle here is WB's push for more live service elements in their games. WB Discovery President David Zaslav, of course, this was a quote we talked about a few weeks ago. That upset a lot of people. Now Variety wanted to ask David Haddad, so don't get the two Davids confused here, both top-level executives in the company. But here's what Haddad told Variety. He said, "The path to that is the accumulation of keeping live games launched with new content, keeping our mobile game services vibrant, and large launching new content." Now, I personally don't know exactly what he means by large launching new content. I guess that means like big, meaty expansions to ongoing live service games. Now, I think this whole push for live service has led to, understandably so, a great deal of concern among fans, but also some hype as well. So the concern would be WB forcing the Avalanche devs to incorporate live service elements into, say, future Hogwarts Legacy titles in a way that isn't what fans want from the developer. An extreme example here would be the Suicide Squad and Rocksteady situation. Now, I absolutely loved the Batman Arkham games, and I have not yet played Suicide Squad, so I can't speak to the quality of the game and how different it is, but I think from everything we've seen, we can pretty much tell it is going to be a vast departure from the story-driven, action-focused gameplay that was the Batman Arkham games. Now, the hope and excitement here would be, of course, if the executives like David Haddad really understand why Hogwarts Legacy worked, which according to that other quote, it seems like he does. So what if they had a completely separate studio working on a Potter game with more live service elements, like, say, an MMO set in the Wizarding World, which I would personally love to see, just not at the expense of another open-world action RPG from Avalanche Software. They've proven themselves. I think they should be given even more freedom with the next project. It seems like WB is pleased, so hopefully they'll continue to give them the resources they need. Now, we're not done yet. There's even more in the article here. Variety went on to say, perhaps there is reason to hold out hope for downloadable content in Hogwarts Legacy after all, when Warner Bros. Games leadership previously said there were no plans for those updates. I have been saying this for a while. If people go back and look at that original quote, all they said was that there were no plans at this time. In my mind, and I think a lot of other people's mind, it is an absolute no-brainer to release not just one, but a series of DLC updates to Hogwarts Legacy. I mean, there are 22 million copies of this game out there. You have just a massive base of people and fans ready and familiar with your game. Now, of course, they're not going to get 22 million people to buy a DLC, but if you get even just a small percentage of that, that is a ton of people spending money on your game, even though it's not live service elements. And it also continues to keep the Hogwarts Legacy IP relevant and at the forefront of people's minds, which I absolutely think is a big focus for WB. Now, Haddad also told Variety, when you ask what our goals are, it's really that macro goal of making sure that we get as much engagement with the fans as possible using content and releases and updates and live services. Now, that quote gives me hope that we're going to see sort of a multi-pronged approach here, not relying solely on a huge multiplayer game with microtransactions, but a number of titles and a number of strategies, if you will, to appeal to different audiences in the Wizarding World fandom. And if live services are just, say, one component of that, I am totally okay with that. It's only going to help even more people, even more fans of the Wizarding World find a game that they can really resonate with. Now, me personally, you guys know I'll already be playing all of them. Now, DLC or not, there are still new things and some really dark secrets to be discovered in Hogwarts Legacy. There are actually 11 random NPCs across the open world who died in mysterious ways. And you guys already know, I just had to get to the bottom of it. I made a video all about it, so you can find them too. Check it out here on the left side of your screen now. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.